All right, so let's go ahead and start this off. Go ahead here, mates, chaps, and all that jazz there. Go ahead, start off a little counter. It's not stop wash, it's a timer. Right, got that going there, and let's go ahead and start the show with Rob's Arcade. Rob's Arcade, where the game's played, videos are saved, comic book pages get turned, so heroes can save the day on Rob's Arcade. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Rob's Arcade. I'm your host here, Mr. Rob French, and getting some weird feedback in my headphones. There, it's kind of weird, like a weird little weird sound back in the background. I guess it's part of the maybe the Halloween effects that are still going on. We still got uh, like we just had some UFOs out in the window. Looks like they're gone now as the sun is coming up. I don't know if they're still doing Halloween here on GTA or if this is just a like I'm caught still in the last loading of nighttime from the last time that, I actually played, or if they're still actually doing some Halloween stuff. They still have pumpkins out, and the weather's all creepy and eerie. And it's now actually November 2nd, so it's that's cool. If they are still doing that, kind of keeping some of the Halloween effects rolling into November. I'm not really even sure when that's supposed to wrap. I think it actually is like November 5th or something like that. They might be wrapping up with all the Halloween stuff. But hopefully everybody here had a great Halloween and enjoyed themselves. Got a chance to get out, do some fun activities, check out all the fun costumes, get plenty of candy and all that comes with it. The cool decorations. Halloween's definitely one of my favorite holidays for sure. It gets kind of rolled all into. I don't want to say we get ahead of the you get ahead of it with all of like Christmas and cramming it all. I like to enjoy all of the holidays, but I definitely start to trickle into the Christmas movies like right after October. I've talked about in different other videos where I definitely have my themes and my marathons throughout the year. Like, I try to keep it not just holiday and scary movies, but I have marathons and things that I run throughout the year, whether it's like a sci-fi or an action or Star Wars or whatever that looks like. And typically after Halloween, I like to save a lot of my Stephen King films for right after Halloween. A lot of the Stephen King movies that I watch also help with. There's some cool Fourth of July movies in the mix, but there. A lot of them are. There's some really cool movies that are related with the fall, the school year, and then even some that are kind of not really focused around the holidays. But I think there's some Thanksgiving pieces within Pet Cemetery. Definitely a lot of holiday scenery and pieces in movies like Dead Zone. Um, there's a few others I can't think of, but those are some of the movies that I was just watching. Sometimes they come back. That's got a very heavy, like fall vibe to it. Even Stephen King's It has inspired a new Welcome to Derry series, and there's some really cool holiday um, scenery in that as they start to kick off that show as well. So that's kind of where I like to lead into the holiday movies is actually through a lot of like Stephen King films and kind of getting into the mood that way. And then there's of course there's always like the really creepy uh, horror themed Christmas movies like Silent Night and Black Christmas and of course the Black Christmas remake. Sorry, just taking a little sip of coffee there. But yeah, so hopefully everybody had a great Halloween. My Halloween was pretty actual Halloween itself is pretty low key. I like just to watch the Halloween films on Halloween. That's always been kind of like my tradition. The original with Jamie Lee Curtis. Although, interestingly enough, and this is like a little bit of a side tangent here, is they've recently redone that whole film franchise, which is really interesting to me because a lot of times they will do remakes or reboots or requels, all kinds of different terminology and used with like updating the film franchises. Rob Zombie did his take on Halloween, and they kind of left it there. But then as they follow up with a new piece in the franchise, it takes place kind of like in present time, focusing once again on Jamie Lee Curtis and her relationship with Michael Myers, although it's omitting every film from the second movie all the way through to Halloween Resurrection, in which Jamie Lee finally gets killed by Michael. Um, in the film before that, she's got a son, um, and there are several other films, one with Paul Rudd, and a few others that kind of focus on other members of the Strode family and what that um, family lineage, history, and how that all ties into the Michael Myers lore. And there's like what, seven, eight films I think altogether in the original. Well, there's eight. You can omit three. Three has nothing to do with Michael Myers at all. I love Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, one of my favorite films, but has nothing to do with Michael Myers. And there are some cool, uh, I guess, Easter eggs or nods to Season of the Witch. In some of the newer Halloweens, you'll see some kids running around in a pumpkin, witch, and a skull mask, which, if you know Season of the Witch, what the reference to all of that is. But there's like seven films altogether, I guess, with Michael Myers, and they are just admitting all of that, like it never happened. And so you have the original Halloween, 1978, and then you have the sequel, which is Halloween 2018, which really bothers me. They couldn't come up with a better name than just Halloween for the sequel. It's like you got Halloween and you got Halloween. Like what? There's no difference. Um, and then you got Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and then that's supposed to be the four movie franchise. Now you have the original Halloween, and then these last three films that kind of again destroy everything that happened. She doesn't have a son now; she has a daughter and a granddaughter. Um, they're not related. And in the second film, it was established that Michael and Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee's character, are related. They throw that out. And at first, I was really like, "What in the world?" Like the Halloween franchise is probably one of my favorite franchises, if not the favorite franchise of all of the horror movies. And I was just like really surprised that they decided to go. And in fact, that even Jamie Lee was willing to take part in this. I mean, I'm like, okay, you've already done, you know, what, four Halloween films establishing your character's history and relationship with Michael Myers, The Shape, and now you're willing to jump into a new project, recreating your character and revising the story completely. And I was just really shocked. But um, they have their reasons for doing it. And to be honest, I like the Rob Zombie Halloween. I like the sequel. I'm not a big fan of the whole like mother and the white horse and that whole like that weird piece of it. But I'm also not a huge fan of some of the weird like runic, Sam Hain, culturalistic type things that they did in some of the sequels, like the Curse of Michael Myers and all that. But outside of some of that plot points, I've just always really enjoyed all of the Halloween films, and so I was kind of upset. It's kind of like, well, then what do I do with all these other films? But if you look, they kind of even mention it in one of the first scenes of the new Halloween, the 2018 direct sequel to the original, where kids are walking to school. It's Laurie Strode's granddaughter walking with her friends, and one of them makes a comment like, "Yeah, didn't like your isn't your grandma like related to him or something like that?" And she establishes right there like, "No, that's just a rumor. That's just something everybody goes around and says." And so you start to get the idea that perhaps these other Halloween films are not necessarily part of the story, but part of the myth. And to me, that actually really intrigued me and really like, I don't know, kind of like perked up my ears. Like, ooh, that's kind of a new take on. I always think that orange face is a pumpkin around this time of year. Like, I don't know why. Um, but it really intrigued me. It really made me like perk up in my seat and get kind of excited. Like, ooh, like, okay, wait a minute now. You have this original movie where in their new story, what they're saying is he didn't just get up and run away and terrorize her through the rest of the night in the second movie at the hospital. The new take is right after the first film when he gets shot and then they pan the camera back and he's disappeared is the manhunt ensues and they find this guy just a couple of blocks away and wind up actually finally taking him in, and then he spends the next you know what are we talking, like 40 years or something crazy, um in no, that's like 50 years, in it's a long time, uh, in prison. So he's just spent this whole time from 1978 until whatever, I guess 2018 or whatever they establish that he gets out. He's just spent this entire time in prison, and then he finally gets out as an old man and starts wreaking havoc. And it's just the idea that he's not related to Lori. She just happened to be there. He was literally he drove into town. That group of friends were the first group of friends he saw, and he was like, "I'm not going to stop until they're all dead." And you get that in the new movie, in the new sequels, where he just walks into rooms and he just obliterates people, and he has no like thought process of I'm related to this person or I have a mission or I have something to do. They really play it as this guy is just he's not perhaps all there, and what is there is just absolute pure evil, and there's no reasoning with him. There's no understanding it. Even Michael, the shape himself, doesn't understand what he does and why he does what he does. He's just a machine, and he just goes and goes and goes and goes. But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of like what I like to do on Halloween, and I watched quite a few of those, and just had some candy, and just chilled out. And it was a pretty cool night. But hopefully, you guys had a great Halloween. Um, we did some really cool stuff at work with Halloween. That's one of the things I talk about with my job a lot of times, and I guess it's a good point to kind of jump into some of that. Um, Little segue from the holidays into how work's been going, and it's been busy. Like there's been last few weeks, of October here. I would say like the last 3 weeks, pretty steady, pretty busy. There's just again with school starting, a lot of our programs, a lot of our things start to kick off with sports and different things like that. But we've also had like swim meets, and I've just been pulling some really long days. And then with Halloween, we typically do some kind of like a community event or a trunk or treat or something along those lines. And with some of these transitions and changes that I mentioned in some of these other videos, it's just something that was kind of falling through the cracks. But I know that there's a huge, um, need and want for something like that in our neighborhood and in our community. So I wanted to put together something, and working with a couple of ladies that I work with, who are absolutely amazing fellow directors of themselves. We were able to kind of put together like a movie on the field kind of a thing, flicks on the field, and we did Casper, the Friendly Ghost. Everybody's like, "What? Which Casper? Which Casper?" The Casper, man, Casper, 1995, Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman. Come on, Devin Sawawan, whatever his name is. The freaking Casper. So, can I keep you? Uh, we watched that on the field, and we did some games and some candy and all that. I got some of my leaders from last year together, and helped out with all of that kind of stuff, and um, passing out candy to the kids and all of that. We had like little tickets. We passed out tickets to the kids, and it's not like they really needed them, but it was just something to kind of make them feel like, oh, here, here's your ticket, and like play a game, and here's your ticket for the movie, and oh, it was just a lot of fun. We had different like game. I think we had like 4 or 5 game stations set up, each with like a little bucket of candy, and they go around and play a game, get some candy for each try, whether they, scored a point or whatever or not, knocked down any cans or not. They all got candy, and then we had little bags of popcorn and all of that. And like the last 30 minutes, I did get to sit down and enjoy. I was doing a lot of the put together for it, which was really awesome because I was kind of given this runway. Like, the three of us, like I said before, kind of sat down and came up with this idea. And then they were like, well, do you need anything or can you do this? And I was like, no, I think I can. I think I can do this. And so they were awesome enough just to kind of give me that runway, if you will, to execute that. And it actually turned out really, really freaking awesome. It wasn't as huge as some of the other events that we do, but I think that kind of added to um, a little bit of like maybe the intimacy with the crowd. Like it was a good crowd, it was a decent crowd, quite a few families showed up, but it wasn't so large that we didn't feel like we weren't together watching it on the field. It really did feel like we were watching it collectively as one group. Even in the theater, when the theater is packed, you just kind of feel like you're in a full house and you're just kind of watching it with a large group of people. Whereas sometimes if you're watching a movie with only like a handful, the reactions and all of that seem to kind of really hit you all together at the same time, and you really kind of share all of those little emotional and I don't know, like uh, I don't know, there's little emotional cues and all like the action pieces and the gasps and the ahs and all the excitement. You get to experience that more as a collective group. The the cool part is growing up, my family spent a lot of time like making the holidays always really fun, but um, Christmas especially was like with most houses really big. But Halloween we did a lot of focus on Halloween, and so there's something about to um, getting to do these things now on the scale that I get to do some of these little events. Um, I was kind of making this comment before that, growing up, I would watch things like, the TGIF Full House and the Family Matters and all the different horror movies, um, the different Friday the 13th and stuff like that. And in all of those films, there's always some kind of like a planning or an event or something that's going on. Like, the Halloween episode of Family Matters is going to have a huge Halloween bash, and there's always like a big birthday party that they're going to be celebrating in Friday the 13th, and there's streamers and a party committee and people planning this and that, and even Casper. There's a huge focus on the Halloween party and where's it going to be, and it's just like this huge event, and all the kids are there, and that was very similar to growing up. Like our house was kind of ground zero for Halloween, if you will, but there was never like this huge, like really like big community block party. Like we kind of had like a street block party where all the kids on our street would kind of hang out, and all of our friends from school would kind of come and hang out, and we'd go in and out trick or treating and all of that. But I remember growing up and always wanting like, oh man, it'd be so cool to throw like a giant Halloween bash in like a haunted house or even at a school gym and make it look like a haunted house, and just excuse me, really emulate what we grew up watching, like Saved by the Bell. They would have these huge events and stuff, these huge house parties. Um, and so it's not lost on me now, like the last couple of years, I've gotten a chance to not only participate in some of those events, whether it be like a haunted trail or a trunk or treat or a flicks on the field, but I'm actually the one like putting that together. Like I'm that guy who gets to put those pieces and those events all in place. And there was a moment like we did the flicks on the field the Friday before Halloween, and there was something about like being out there Thursday night in the dark, which was also kind of spooky. I'll talk about that in a second. Um, but there was something really cool about being out there in the dark and setting it all up and getting it together and seeing how the projector was going to look and see how the lights were going to look and see how the sound was going to be put together, like all how it was coming together. And standing up there in the dark on the field, I could see where the projector is and I could kind of imagine, okay, this is where the games are going to go. And I'm orchestrating all these little pieces and it felt really good. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun and a little, uh, overwhelming at times as far as like emotion goes. A lot of that, is just wishing that, my dad literally passed just before I got this job, and he wasn't able to kind of see what I am able to do like firsthand, and that's something like I don't have many regrets. But that's definitely something I wish, like, if I could turn back or get like a little bit more time, that he could kind of see what I'm doing, because I know he would be like over the moon, like just given what he used to do for our house and our neighborhood. If he could see pictures or video of what I'm putting together now, he would be like, oh man, he would be blown away. He'd be really proud of all that. Um, so there's a piece of that isn't really um, isn't lost on me at all. Like I find time and all the craziness in the 45, 50 hour weeks to kind of sit back and be able to find time and reflect on that and really be appreciative of what I get to do. A lot of people will be like, oh, I have to do this or I have to put together a thing and I get to do these things and I'm really happy that I get a chance to. And then also because I love horror movies, there was something also really cool about being out there in the dark on the field by myself. A very Jason or Halloween moment, if you will, in real life, where even that Friday, it's like 8:30 or so. I was out there till like 8:30, 9 o'clock on Thursday, and you're by yourself. There's no one around, and you start to realize like it's kind of spooky out here, man. Like it's really funny. As a kid, I would watch these horror movies and go outside and not think twice. And last night, I was watching the new It, Welcome to Derry, and decided to run across the street to grab something real quick before it got too late, and was totally getting freaked out. Like just walking across the street to the store, like oh my god, like this is crazy. There's shapes and things and shadows and um, little bits and pieces moving everywhere, and I was getting all freaked out. I'm like, where do I go? What do I do? Um, but yeah, it was pretty funny as I get older how creeped out I can be. And the same thing, like I said, I'm out on the field in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night in the dark or whatever, and it's just like, as a kid, I wouldn't have think twice, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to hurry up, get inside. I literally last night, says I'm like walking across the street to the store. There's like a lamp post, and just the way the light and the shadow from the moon was hitting it, and as I'm walking, it looked like it was moving, like a hand or something. It was really creepy to the point where I almost kind of sidestepped it, like, what the crap? Like, what is what is that? And then had to like laugh at myself. So even in putting together these events and doing these little things and watching these horror movies and kind of spooking myself, there's little pieces of danger and excitement within putting together these events that I don't always anticipate. And as silly as it sounds, it's a lot of fun just because, I, again, spend my holidays watching. I'm a movie person. That's like what I like to do. And so to be able to get a slight piece of that in real life is really awesome and a lot of fun. Um, and then also, there was a kind of like a Halloween event at our one of our local stadiums, and I got a chance to be a part of that. Which I'm actually, I'm gonna have to, I think, do like a two-parter for this video because I've been talking a lot about Halloween. Halloween movies, and I haven't had a chance to really jump into some other pieces that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about. So I think what I'm going to do is get ready to wrap up this piece of the video. Um, we'll take a little break and we'll come back and kind of pick up with this work event that we did, like I said, at the local stadium, and just how work has been going because it's been going really well. I quite often make that comment of the guy who's just kind of behind the controller, like smashing buttons and pushing buttons and stuff like that. But oh, we might actually get a chance to see if we got Halloween stuff going on too. So that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, we'll get a chance to see if it is more Halloween. If I just happen to jump into an infinite loop where I was stuck in a Halloween night from when I played before Halloween. If we still do have Halloween stuff going on. Like I said, I do believe it's November 5th is when all this wraps up. Um, but yeah, we'll also talk about work because that's been, like I said, going decent. There's that whole. Um, Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing thing where it's a lot like I feel like the guy behind the console of a cockpit in Star Wars and you're flying by the seat of your pants, literally just kind of pushing buttons, not really sure if you know what you're doing, but somehow you wind up saving the day. Let's go ahead and call this a day. It does look like we got a creepy sky rolling in. We're going to come back with part two of this. I guess this would be like a Monday motivation, Monday show, kind of a jam. Um, just a little bit. Make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe. If you're a first time offender here, you don't want to miss any other videos. Make sure you go back, like all the videos that I've posted in the past you haven't gotten a chance to see. And go ahead and shoot me a little comment. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of each other. Until next time, don't spend a quarter anywhere else. Peace out, guys.